Hello everyone, welcome to the Basic Campus webinar. This webinar is geared towards new employees and is geared towards users that are not too familiar with using PCR Educator. So the webinar will cover the home page here, what the features are on the home page. It'll cover the navigation, how to quickly navigate to different screens. It'll cover the search boxes, the dashboard, student details, email merge, and mail merge. Although I'll be working mainly in the admin tab, the concepts that I go over in this webinar will apply to any other module including development, health, financial aid, finance, admissions, or anything else. And if you have any questions about this webinar, or if you have any follow-up questions, suggestions, comments, feel free to email support at pcreducator.com and we'll be happy to address them. And this webinar is being recorded and it will be posted on our website. So let's get started. I'm on the home page, and on the home page there are many different options. I have account information, history of updates, emergency help, and then I have a few things on the right hand side. And by default you'll see all the updates on the home screen. So whenever we post articles, whenever we release any sort of updates, we post them to the home page. So it's good to check this every once in a while to make sure that you're up to date on the new items that we release, or um, any news items that we post. Then under home account information, this is where you can go in and you can update your email address and your password. So as long as you have access to campus, if you need to update your email or password, you can do it directly from here. Then we have history of updates. History of updates, this is basically just like the home page where we post new features and documentations and news items, except this has the entire history, at least for the last few years, whereas on the home page it shows more recent items. I'm going to skip the emergency in this webinar because this is not applicable anymore, so I'll go to the help section next. On the help link, we post all the different articles, documentations, webinar videos, and so forth. And as of today is May 17, 2019. We have many documentations and videos here, but we are moving this information to our website. So at some point in time in the future, this help will be replaced with a link to our website, and I'll actually cover that in a second on how you can even access that now. So let me go back to home. Then on the right hand side we have bookmark. If I click on it, there's a bookmark link here. So what this is used for is, let's say that you primarily work in admin student screen, or you primarily work in development or finance or anywhere else. What you can do is you can go to the page that you mostly work in. You can grab the bookmark link and you can add that to your browser as a shortcut. So what would happen is that next time when you come click on the link, it'll bring you directly on the page where you got the bookmark link from, so you could bypass all the other pages like the home page and the dashboard and come directly here, so that you don't have to waste time going through a few clicks before getting to the page that you normally work in. Another useful purpose of bookmark link is that whenever you're submitting tickets to our support system, it's important to give us the bookmark link so that we know exactly what page you're working on. This will also help us find the exact record you're looking at, exact division you're in, whether you're in the next year schedule, current year schedule, anything like that, that would be included in the bookmark link, so it'll help us easily solve your any sort of issues that you submit via the ticket system. Then we have the support link here. What the support link is used for, if I click on this here, this basically takes you to our ticket system, so you can register an account here, and then you can submit a ticket to our system. So if you need any um, if you have any questions, or if you need help troubleshooting something, you can register an account and submit a ticket. Alternatively, you can also email support@pcreducator.com, which will automatically generate a ticket in our system. We also have the live chat option, which is open from 8 in the morning Eastern to 7 in the evening Eastern. And you can click on live chat, and if you need help right away, you can click on this link and get help right away. Another way to get help is to call our support line. The phone number is 301 947 7380, extension 2. So there are various channels of getting help. So let me go ahead and go back to the home page. So we covered bookmark, we covered support. Let me click on Knowledgebase now. So earlier I was talking about how we're moving our help documentation to our website. So this is how we've linked it. So if you click Knowledge Base, you'll notice all of these articles. We also have FAQs, and we've grouped them by different categories like records, data entry, data analytics, development, health, and so forth. So we'll keep adding new documentations to this website, and then eventually we'll remove that from the help page of campus and move it all here. A nice thing about having it here is that you can easily use the search box to search for information that you're looking for, instead of going through the PDF documentations like we have on the help page. So this will make it easier for you to search on different items that you're looking to learn about. Now on the top right hand side, I have the option for ledgers. This is only used for finance purposes. So in finance, you may have different ledgers to separate accounting. You may have a ledger for summer, ledger for cafeteria, online store, and so forth. But yeah, this is where you will switch between different ledgers. And then we had the division drop down. So if you need to switch between divisions, you can come here and switch between divisions, whether you're in lower school, upper school, middle school, or just overall division where you can see all the records in one place. Basically, depending on the division that you go in, you'll see students that belong to that division. So upper school division, you may see students that belong to grade levels 9 through 12. Middle school would be 6 through 8, and so forth. So this is just a way to switch between different divisions. Then the last drop down here, this is a schedule drop down. This would be only used in terms of scheduling. Basically, you can schedule for the next year. Basically, each summer schools roll over their school year. So you can schedule for next year even prior to closing the school year. And when you select next year's schedule and then go to the scheduling tab, you'll notice that it's in orange. That basically means that you're working in the next year's schedule. In other words, you don't have to wait until actually closing the school year to do scheduling for next year. You can still have all of your schedules in the current year, and at the same time you can work on next year's schedules, whether it's having students make selections, whether it's creating a master schedule, loading students into courses. That can all be done prior to even closing the school year. So now let me click on the admin tab. and I'll go to students first. So on this screen, let me zoom in a little bit. So on this screen, I'd like to go over a few items. So first thing is that on this drop down here, you can search for records. So for example, if I wanted to search by grade level, I can come here and say grade level equals, let's say 10, and click search, and it'll pull up all of my 10th graders um, in the division that I'm in. And then there are other options that you can search by. So if you wanted to search for people that have a particular birth date, or if you wanted to search for last name, first name, and so forth, you can do that, or by student ID or status, substatus, and so forth. Then in the next drop down, we have the operator. So you can search based on different conditions. So you can do greater than equal to, you can do less than equal to, like, not like, contains, and so forth. So this makes your search easier. So if I, right now I have 70 records, so because I did grade like 10, so if I do greater than equal to 10, now I get 120 records because now I have 10, 11th, and 12th graders. So similarly, you can use this drop down to search for various criteria. This is just a quick way to search. We have more advanced features like filtering and data analytics tools that could have you allow you to search in more advanced, using more advanced methods. The other nice search in this drop down, so if for example, if you pick parent names, you can search for parent names using contains or like. So if you know, like, if a parent has certain characters in their name, so for example, if I search for Smith and then click search, so it'll bring all of the families that have Smith in their name. So these are all the students whose parent names have the word Smith in them. So similarly, I can also search by student last name. So if I can, if I come here, and if I search for Smith, then I see all the students that have the word Smith, that contain the word Smith in their last name. So for example, Smith's son would also pull up because it contains the word Smith in the last name. The other item on this screen is these links here. So you'll notice that these are hyperlinks here on each column, and it basically just lets you sort records. So if I click on it the first time, it'll sort in a descending order. So now, actually, sorry, ascending order. So first name is sorted in alphabetical order, and then if I click on it the second time, then it'll sort in descending order. So you can do the same thing with grade levels, grade level next year, advisors, and any other column that you see here. So that's what these links are used for. And then on the right hand side, we have this little gear icon. So if I click on this, you'll see that there are many different options. So these are names of columns. So if there are columns that you do not use, for example, let's say that my school doesn't use homerooms, I can simply come here and I can uncheck homerooms and then click apply, and it'll get rid of the homeroom column from my screen. So this is customizable per user, so you may want to hide something from the screen, but you may have a colleague that may want to show certain items on this screen. So this would be customizable per user. Another item here is the show number. So by default, you'll see that I show 10 records at a time. If I click 25 and then click apply, then I would see 25 records at a time. So this lets you show more or less records. We would recommend keeping it within 25 because the more records you show, the longer it would take for the page to load. So I typically either keep it to 25 or 10 to make sure that my pages load as fast as possible. Next, let's look at these checkboxes here. So all divisions basically means it'll show you all the students that are enrolled in all divisions. So if I check all divisions, my records go from 201 to 721. What that means is that these are all the students that are enrolled in any other division. So whether it may be middle school, lower school, summer school, or anything else. Um, you'll notice that I have a bunch of withdrew students, even though I said that they're enrolled in some division. It is possible that they may be withdrawn from the current division, but they may still be enrolled in another division. For example, I may have some students that are withdrawn from one division, but they might still be enrolled in, for example, the summer division. So all divisions basically finds records that are enrolled in at least one division. And if I uncheck it, I only see enrolled students in the division that I'm in. So if I'm in upper school, I only see enrolled students that are in upper school. Then include all. This means it'll show me all the records that are not only enrolled, but they might have been graduated or withdrew or do not even have a status. So include all. Um, by if I click include all by default, I mean if I just click include all, it'll look at my division. It'll access the grade levels that are in my division. So because I'm in upper school, so it'll show me 9 through 12 graders that are either enrolled or they have graduated or withdrawn or have any other status but enrolled. If I click include all and all divisions, that's basically every record in my school. So whether they're in middle school, lower school, summer school, whether they're graduated, withdrawn, enrolled, anything else, if I check include all in all divisions, I have a total of 948 student records in my school. So what I went over on this screen applies to other modules as well. So whether you're on the household side, whether you're on the admissions module, development module, these options work very similar. So the search capability, the option to show certain amounts of records, so this all is very parallel in other modules as well. Another item on this screen is the export button. Export button will basically export the data into a spreadsheet. So if you wanted to get a quick export of the records that you were looking at, you can click export and it'll download the data into a spreadsheet. And this export will get all the records that show up in the total number. So even though you may be showing 10 records at a time, when you click export, it'll export all 201 records. Then we have the option to select individual records. So for example, if I select John, Adams, Apricot, Bar, the advantage of selecting multiple records is that if you're working with a group of people at a time, selecting them will help you easily access their record. Another reason for selecting multiple records is that if you're batch processing those records, for example, if you're sending them an email or if you're printing a mail merge documentation for them, or if you're updating their grade levels or anything like that, if you select multiple records, there's on the right hand side, there's a multi-action option where you can process these records at a time. So for example, I have email merge, I have health forms honor roll. I can run an honor roll for these students. I can run PDF reports. I can add actions to them. So this option, if you select multiple students, you can batch process them through the multi-action screen. Now I'm going to go on a dashboard screen for some of these students. So you'll notice that we have these arrows in different places. So, and then we have links next to them. So whenever you see an arrow, that simply means that it opens it in a new tab. And whenever you click the link, it would open it in the same tab. So if you're working on a screen and you're looking, if you just want to quickly look at someone's record, you can click the arrow. It'll open it in a new tab, and then when you're done, you can just close it out. So this is a new tab. I can review the student's information. I can review their family information, and you'll notice another blue arrow or blue square with the white arrow. It basically would open their family information in a new tab. So this is the dashboard. So this is the student dashboard. And what the dashboard is used for is to kind of get an overall view of the student record. So whether it's their status, their email, their phone number, their family information, their parent phone numbers, their parent emails, their attendance record, period attendance, their interims, their report cards, schedules, and so forth. So this would be a quick way to kind of get an overall glance of their record. And then on the bottom, there's an option for a new widget, so you can add other widgets to your dashboard. So if you wanted to add the notifications widget, you can click there and then click add, and then it'll add the notifications widget to your dashboard. Notifications basically is the emails that you may have sent out to the student. And then this is also customizable per user, so you can set up the dashboard the way that you would like. So you can grab widgets, move them left and right, up and down, and organize them the way that you would want them to be organized. And then anything that you do not want, you can simply get rid of it. So for example, if I don't care about looking at discipline, I can simply exit out. You'll also notice that some of the widgets have these arrows. So this basically lets you export them into a spreadsheet as well. So clicking on this would export the data. And then this little gear icon lets you rename the widget. So this one is called student info, but if I wanted to change it to, let's say, student information, and click save, it would update the name of my widget. And again, this would only apply to my user and not to anybody else. Everyone else can set this up the way that they would like. You'll also notice that some of the pages that I go to, they have a PDF at the top, a PDF file. So different pages, we've included documentations on how the pages are used. So depending on what page you're on, you may have an option to click on the link to access the documentation on how the page works. And then because I had selected a few students beforehand, if I come here to the right hand side, I can actually use the drop down to switch between students as well. So this is another advantage of selecting a few records. If you know you're working with a certain group of students, you can select them beforehand. That way you can easily go through their information and review it as needed. So I'm going to X this tab out, and it'll bring me back to this screen. The selected only checkbox basically selects anybody that you had checked off. So if I check this option, then it'll only show me the students that I had selected. Another option is the one on the left hand of the last name. It basically selects all the records that you have. So an advantage of that is, let's say you're sending a mass email to all of your students, you can select that. It'll select all the students, and then you can send out an email. Similarly, If I just wanted to send an email to my 10th graders, I could first search for them. I can click search. Once I find them, then I can select this. It'll select all my records here, and then all 70 records, and then I could send them an email. Let's now look at the details screen. So again, I have an arrow and a link. Arrow would open it in a new tab, link would open it in the same tab. So um, details basically lets you edit information as long as you have permissions. So here I have Sally, middle name, last name, and so forth. So I could edit any information that I want, and then I could click save, and it'll update that information. So to compare that with the dashboard, so if I go to students and go to the dashboard again, the dashboard is used to view information, and then the details is used to edit information. And also when you are on the dashboard, you can go to the detail screen by clicking on different links. So for example, if I click student information, it takes me to the details of the student record. Then I have different links on the left hand side. So for example, if I click household, I can see the household information. If I click attributes, I see the attributes and so forth. So when you are on the dashboard, you have different links and they'll take you to the appropriate section on the details screen. So if I click actions, then it would take me to the actions tab on the details screen. And again, this is for you to update information. So if you wanted to add new actions, you could add them here. Similarly, if you wanted to review notifications or send out an email, you can also do it from here. You can run PDF reports from here. You can review the schedule. You can record attendance, whether it's daily or period. You can add attributes. So the detail screen would be for you to enter data, and the dashboard would be for you to view data, and you can go back and forth between the two screens. So I showed you how you can go from the dashboard to the detail screen. If you're on the detail screen and you want to go to the dashboard, you can come to the right hand side top right. There's these breadcrumbs here. So it kind of gives you where you are in the system. So you're under admin, students, dashboard, details. So if you wanted to go to the dashboard, you can click dashboard, and it'll bring you back to the dashboard. So you can go back and forth. So if I click student info, now I'm in details. If I click dashboard, now I'm back in the dashboard. So this is really useful, especially when you're reviewing a record and you decide you have to make some changes. You can quickly do it this way. And again, what I'm showing you here is applicable to other modules as well and other records as well. So whether you're under households, admissions, development, these concepts would apply the same way that I'm showing you on the student screen. The final two things that I would like to cover in this webinar are email merge and mail merges. So let's go ahead and take a look at those two items. So once I have my record selected, I go to multi-action menu and I click email merge. So on the email merge screen, there are a few options. So we have these two options, one email per student and one email per student slash household combination. So the difference is that in one email per student slash household combination, let's say that you have a student that has more than one family. So maybe their parents are divorced. Let's say that they have two families assigned to them. When you send an email to the student using this option, and you also select the household email or some sort of like parent emails, the student will receive a copy for each household that they're tied to. So if the student is tied to two households, then the student will receive two copies. Whereas one email per student, so even if the student is tied to multiple households, the student will only receive one copy of that email. So you can select either option depending on what you're doing. And then we have fields, we have types, we have fields and types. Uh, Basically, in the system, you have different kinds of emails. You have student email, advisor email, household email, parent emails, and so forth. So when you're sending out emails, you can check off which emails that you would like to send, which email addresses that you would like to send your email to. And then we have the types. So types, you have like different options: student, work, household, home, emergency, and so forth. So when you are setting up a household record, you can specify, you can create different types. You can call them work, or you can call them business or personal, anything like that. And then you also have fields like parent one email one, parent one email two, and three. So let me show you a quick example of what I mean. So I'll just pick a household and go to details, and then I'll click parent one. So you have email one, email two, and email three, and then you have these drop downs like we probably shouldn't have select one, but you have these other options like emergency, private, school, student, work. And if you click the hyperlink, you can actually delete different lookups, or you can add new ones. So let me just delete this one. Um, so when I go back to the email merge screen, I have two options. Either I can send it to email one, two, or three, or I can pick the type of email. So the advantage of using the type is that you may have some families, let's say that you want to send an email to a personal email and not the work email. Let's say that one family has work email in email one, and another family has a work email in email two, and a personal email in email one. So let's say that I add a new one called personal, and let me go ahead and click finish. So now I have public, I have emergency, personal, private, and so forth. So I can add whichever options. Let's say that I want to send it to the personal email, but one family has personal email in email one, whereas another family has personal email in email two. So when I am on this screen, and if I select parent one email one, it'll go to whatever email is in email one, whether it's personal, whether it's private, whether it's work, or anything else. Whereas if I do types, I can pick a particular type, and regardless of where it is stored, whether it's stored in email 1, 2, or 3, it'll go to that specific type. So each option has kind of the advantage, and then you also have the combination of two. So let me come back to the screen. So if I just come back and click email merge, the reason I'm going to go back to the screen is so that I can see the updated version of my email. So if I click type, now I can see that personal is available, and I can see that select one is removed from the list because I removed it beforehand. So this would be a way for you to pick the type where, regardless of where it's stored, whereas fields would be used to send it to a particular email stored in a particular field like email 1, email 2, or email 3. The other items like subjects, this is pretty straightforward, like you would see in any other email editor. So you have subject, you have sender. This would actually have the sender name, and this would default to your user's email address. So if you're logged in as yourself, it should have your own email and your own name. And this is set up in security. So because My display name and security is my last name and first initial. That's what is showing up, but I could change it to be my full name. Then copy sender. Let's say that you picked 100 kids and you select the first copy. So when those 100 emails go out, you would only get the first copy of that email. If you select all, then you'll get all 100 copies. So this is typically not recommended. And no copy, you wouldn't get any copies of the email. The same applies to anybody that you BCC or CC on. You can select whether they should only get the first copy or whether they should get all copies of the email. Then on the right hand side, we have a few options here. So we have the job type. Job type is used when you allow people to subscribe to certain kinds of emails. So if you have families that are subscribed to a newsletter and when you send out an email, you specify a job type of newsletter, then any family or any student that's subscribed to a newsletter will receive that email. Anybody that's not subscribed to it will not receive an email. Then we have action type. Action type is used to tag records to mark that you have sent them a certain email. You would typically not use this. This is usually more so used in the admission side when they're sending out, let's say, acceptance letters or waitlist letters or so forth. And when they send it out, they want to mark that action on the applicant's record. That's when they would use action type. But typically, most schools that I work with, they don't specify anything here because there are other ways to search for emails that you may have sent out from your school, and I'll actually go over that in a little bit. Then we have templates, so you can, whenever you're setting up an email, you can save it as a template so that you can use it in the future. And then you can load different kinds of templates by picking them and then clicking the load button. And then you can save a template too, and then you have the add fields where you can add custom fields to your email record or to your email template. So let's do a quick example. So let's say that I'll put in a subject here called parent teacher conference, and then I'll select, let's say, student and household email, and then I can say something like dear, and then I have the add fields drop down where I can actually pick custom fields from my database. So for example, let's say that I want to say dear, and then for example, I'm just gonna pick household name. So these should all be in alphabetical order. So if I come here and select household name, now I have different options, and as of the webinar that I'm doing right now, this hasn't been released yet. This will be released in the next few days, so I'm kind of showing you what's coming up. So some of these features are not available to our live system at the time of this webinar, but I'm doing it on our test system so that by the time we release the webinar, these options would be available. So if I pick household name, I can either put that in the subject, I can put that in sender email. Actually, I can't put that in sender email because this is not an email type. I can put that in sender, or I can put that in the body. So if I click body, then it comes here. And then I can say something like dear household name, and then I can say something like student name, student first name, put that in the body, has a conference coming up. And of course, you can use document manager and image manager, and you can add a logo. You can attach documents. So this is very similar to how any other email editor would work. You can do hyperlinks, so link it to a website. So let's say that I type something in and I say like thanks Bismarck School, and I can scroll down and click preview. The preview shows me how the fields will convert. So I have like Dear Tess, Dear Apricot family, Dear Bond family, Tom has a conference coming up, and so forth. So you can review the emails and make sure that they convert to the appropriate fields before you send them out. Let's say that you're sending out 100 emails, but you notice that you want to change a couple of emails because they won't follow the same text that all the other emails will. You can simply click on particular emails and you can actually update the specific emails if you would like, and then click save. So that, for example, if I did it on this family, the other 99 families would get one email, and then this family may have a slight different version of the email. So that's what that is used for. And then if I scroll down, there are different options here. So one is test. Test is used to kind of see how format of your email looks in a real email inbox. So if you put in like images and you put in like attachments and things like, actually attachments wouldn't come through in the test, but if you put in like banner and other photos and things like that, hyperlinks and so forth, when you click test, you'll get the person who's the sender will get an email in their inbox, so that person can review what that email looks like, what the formatting looks like, make sure the hyperlinks work before they send it out to all the families and the students. You also have the option to schedule an email. So if I click schedule, um, I can pick a date and time, and then that email would be scheduled to go out at a certain date and time, and then on that date and time it would be processed. So the other thing is that you'll notice that I kind of went over this sender email, sender body subject. This typically is used by admissions. We kind of implemented this for admissions. What happens there is that in admissions you may assign students to agents or like advisors that help them get into the school and apply and answer their questions and so forth. So what this does is that you can set up your email template so that they go out from a certain email. So for example, if I get rid of the student email and let's say that I go down here, actually I'll show you that in the admission side. So let me pull it up there instead. I'll go to increase applicants. I'll just select a couple of them and go to email merge. So here under add fields, you may have assigned to users. So there's assigned to email, assigned to job title, assigned to username, assigned to display name. So if an applicant is assigned to, let's say, an advisor or an agent or someone like that, you can send out the email as that person. So you can say assigned to email, and you can include that in the sender email instead. So then when the email goes out, it'll go out from the advisor or the agent or whatnot instead of from your admissions administrator. And similarly, you can come here and then you can say something like assign to display name, and you can put that in the sender and then get rid of whatever you may have. So when the email goes out, it would go out as the advisor or the agent. And then in the subject, you may even want to put something like, you may want to even grab like the applicant name or something like that. So if I go to scroll down and pick student name, and if I put that in the subject, I may say something like, you are accepted and then put in the student name or my applicant name. So then when the email goes out, it'll show that name in the subject, and then it'll go out from their advisor that's assigned to them. So this is a new feature that is not released at the time of this webinar, but it will be released in the next few days. And once you set up your template, you can simply come here under Save, and you can give it a name, and you can click Save, and it'll save the template so that in the future you can view the template. You can basically load the template. So if I have a template, I can click on it and click Load, and it'll load the template that I may have created in the past. And then if I want to update it, I can simply save it, make changes, save it, and it'll update the template, or I can save it with a new name. And finally, to send out the email, you would simply click the send button, and it'll send an email to whichever email options are selected, whichever job type you pick. So default would basically send it to anybody that has a send mail option checked on their household record, and the other options would send it to basically whoever is subscribed to different things such as newsletter and so forth. And then how do you view the emails that have gone out? So you can go to notifications, notification jobs, and then by default you only see emails that are scheduled. So because I haven't scheduled anything, I don't see anything here. And if I had something scheduled and if I wanted to modify it, I would go to details and modify it, or I could select it and delete it if I don't want that email to go out. But if I check include all, then I see all the emails that have gone out. So this is a thank you email from inquiry, when someone submitted the inquiry form, and then these are all these other emails that have gone out from our system previously. And you can also click on the notification. So there's a notification job, and then there's notifications. A job basically groups all the emails. So if you send an email to 100 people, you will see one row of that job, and then under notifications you may see 100 notifications, and then you would click on that and kind of see who all the emails that went out to were. So like this email went out to myself and to a colleague of mine. And then you can also see emails that have been read. You can click on these links here, and you can get more information about the email. So you can see information such as if there were any links clicked on them, who the recipients were, what the email said, um, what the email signature was, when it was processed, when it was read, if there were any errors. So you can kind of see more information about each email that went out. So you can either go through jobs, or you can go directly to notifications and see all the emails that had gone out. The final thing I would like to cover in this webinar is the mail merge functionality. So mail merge is similar to email merge, except you would produce a Word document that you can print and send out to your students and families. Mail merge would be, they're very beneficial if you're, for example, printing labels, or mailing out acceptance letters or so forth. You can actually set up a template, and you can print that out and mail it out. They could also be used in the development side to print tax receipts. They could be used in the finance side to print invoices. So they could also be used in finance side to print checks. So there are many different uses of mail merge templates. So I'll go ahead and do that next. So I'm going to go to admin students. Then under maintenance, there's an option that says actions. I click here, and the first step would be to actually set up a mail merge template, and this is something you just have to do one time. So you don't have to recreate these every time that you're running it. Once you set it up one time, you can use it in the future as many times as you would like. Just like your email merges, once you save the template, you can use that in the future. So the action category, there are many different options. If you're sending out an email or a mail merge based on the student record, you can typically just pick student correspondence or student contact correspondence. A contact correspondence would have this says student with HH contact. So this is basically just like what I was talking about earlier with the email merges. If you use this option, and if a student has multiple families, it'll print one document for the student. If you use this option, then it'll print as many documents for the student as the number of families that they're assigned to. So you can do it either way. So you would either pick student correspondence or student contact correspondence. So once you pick the category, then you would give it a name. So for example, if I call it test labels demo, you don't have to worry about status or substatus. In the method, you would select a mail, and when you pick that, you'll see an option that says data source. Data source is what would have all the different fields that you can use in your mail merge template, similar to how in email merge you can you have fields that you can add to your email merge. So the first thing when you come here is you would click data source and you would download that to your computer. Once you have downloaded the data source to your computer, the next step is to open Microsoft Word and create your mail merge template. So let me go ahead and open Microsoft Word. So once I have Microsoft Word open, I can go to Mailings, and then I can select Start Mail Merge, and then I typically just use step-by-step mail merge wizard. So if I click here, then I have different options: letters, envelopes, labels, directories. So you can pick whichever option, but in this example I'll just do labels and click next, and then I'll click next again. And here I can select whichever labels that I would like. Um, I think most people pick some sort of like 5160 labels, Avery 5160 labels or something like that. So I pick my labels, then I click OK, and then I click next. Then I'll see a pop-up box that'll let me pick my data source. So this is a data source that I had downloaded in the previous step. So I just pick the data source, and then it'll tie the data source to my mail merge template. And then this is really important. When you see this screen, make sure that you pick a comma delimiter and then click OK. And then click OK one more time. Now you have your labels and you just need to add the fields. So for example, if you go here at the top, there's an option that says insert mail merge field, and then you can pick similarly how you picked in the email merge. You can pick information here. So for example, if I wanted to put in the household salutation or household address E1 or student information or anything like that, I can put that through here. So if I say household name, then I might press enter, and then I might put in something like household address 1, then I might put in city, state, and zip. So once I set this up, I put in my household name, address, city, state, and zip, and then I click next again, and then it'll say update all labels. I click update all labels, and it'll copy the same thing to all my labels. So once I'm done with this, I can save the document. So here's the important part. When you are saving the document, I'm just gonna do say mail merge demo, or sorry, mail merge webinar. Make sure that you save it as a type of doc.doc, which would be Word 97 to 2003. So make sure that this you save it as this, and then click Save. Once you save the template, then you can actually link it back to your action. So I'm going to go to Campus and then link it. So back on the screen, I click Select, and then I click my template, so Mail Merge Webinar. And if it's in green, that means that my file format is correct. So if you upload like .docx, it'll have a red dot, meaning that that's not a correct file. So once you do that, then you scroll down and you can select the option to who can make changes to that action, who can run it. So you can specify the read roles, like who can run your mail merge, and then edit roles, who can make edits, so anybody with actions who would be able to edit it. But this is more important. This would mean who can actually run your email merge or your mail merge template. So once you have that, then you can scroll down and click Save, and it'll save the action with your mail merge template tied to it. So now that I have set up my mail merge template, my next thing I'd like to show you is how you would run that mail merge template. So you can, because this one was for the students, I go to Students. I can select my 70 students here, and then I can go to multi-action menu, and then I can go to mail merge. And then once I am in mail merge, I can see my mail merge template that I created called Test Labels Demo. And then on the right hand side, I can click mail merge and it'll produce a document. So I'm just going to click the mail merge button. And you can see that now under the results column, I have the document, and then I'll just click on it and open it. So this is the final result of the document. So it has the name of the family, then their address, city, state, zip. So this is how you could create a mail merge document, and then you can click the results, the download in the results column to download the document, and then of course you can print it from there. If I go back to my campus screen, there's an option that says mark correspondence. So what that does is that, let's say that I have these 70 students selected, and if I mark correspondence, it'll tag their record with the fact that I have sent out this mail merge letter to them. And next time, if I were to produce a mail merge, by default, it won't produce it for the records that I've already produced it for in the past, unless I uncheck this option, which is exclude if sent. So anytime you're working with these mail merges and you want to make sure that you don't print the same letter for the same student or the same family, you can mark correspondence, and then next time, if they are already tagged with that mail merge correspondence, the new mail merge wouldn't print their data unless you uncheck exclude if sent option. And sometimes you may actually see under result, you may see an error that says something like no data source or data source empty. What that typically means is that all the records you have selected, they have already been marked as correspondence for that template, or if their household send mail is unchecked. So each household has to have the send mail option checked for labels or mail merge letters to be print for them. So this is all I wanted to cover in today's basic campus webinar. And if you have any questions, comments, or suggestions, send an email to support@pcreducator.com. And hopefully this webinar will help new campus users who kind of get familiar with with some of the basic features that we have. Thank you for your time, and